You good? You straight? You sure? You know where you at? Well, if you don't know, let me educate you, man. This is the Witted Wire. So before we even get started with today's topics, I need you to do me this favor. I need you to like, comment, and of course, subscribe and hit your notification bell. Matter of fact, once you get done watching this video, share this to somebody you know is not watching the channel that should be watching the channel, because you know and I know at the end of this, I'm going to show you why they got to be locked in just like you are. It's the Witted Wire. Why wouldn't you subscribe? And since I'm never going to be someone who's just going to sit here and waste your time, man, let's get started with the first topic of the day. And y'all let me know. I could be a little bit hypersensitive what's going on. You know what I'm saying? It's the NFL offseason. It ain't actual football games being played. So I get a little agitated when I hear a consistent theme or when I see people who I know normally have no quotes on ESPN. All of a sudden, they got all the quotes. All of a sudden, they got all the storylines. I don't know if Joe Burrow is in cahoots with ESPN. I don't know if they got their own documentary coming out about the 26 Cincinnati Bengals, but it just seems to me Joe Burrow is doing an excellent job of forcing us to pay attention to the Cincinnati Bengals. I ultimately feel that Joe Burrow is forcing the NFL to put a spotlight on the Cincinnati Bengals in this 2026 season. It wasn't enough that he restructured his deal. It wasn't enough that they traded a top 10 pick for Dexter Lawrence of the New York Giants. He wants us to have the expectation for the Cincinnati Bengals that they should be considered Super Bowl contenders for the 2026 season. Now, I feel like that's a whole lot of fool's gold. I feel like he's talking so much that it becomes fake confidence to me. You reached back into that Baggington of yours, which I ain't even mad because, again, you brought up an historic team, so expecting historic spotlight. You brought up your 2019 LSU Tigers, that is arguably one of the greatest collegiate football teams ever put together, and you said your 2026 Bengals is giving you the same type of vibes. Now, vibes is only energy. Vibes is only a feeling you have on the football field, a feeling you have in the locker room, but a vibe nonetheless. But let me remind you how great that 2019 LSU Tigers was. Let's talk about the unprecedented firepower. They averaged almost 50 points a game. So you telling me that the Cincinnati Bengals is about to average 50 points a game, because you said y'all got the same type of vibes. 48.4 points a game to be exact, which ultimately broke the NCAA scoring title by the end of the year. Additionally, Joe Burrow, you know you a Heisman winner. We're not going to take that away from you, but you won by a landslide. It wasn't even close. I don't even know who was second that year, to be honest. That's how far of a gap there was between you and the rest of the field. But then again, additionally, now this is where the comparison can come. You had Jamar Chase in 2019. You got Jamar Chase in 2026. So I get the same vibes because you see the same people. I get that. That makes sense to me. 1,700 yards and 20 touchdowns. Oh, who is his running mate? Justin Jefferson, that alien who, as a second wide receiver, had what? 18 touchdowns and 1,500 yards receiving. Not to mention the fact that y'all never trailed in the fourth quarter. So when you talk about your 26 Cincinnati Bengals and you're comparing them to the 2019 LSU Tigers, I want us to be on the same level, the same platform. I want us to be looking eye to eye when we say you think they them, because I don't see it. But I'm going to let you rock, though. Additionally, what's get lost in the sauce outside of y'all beating 7 top 10 teams throughout the year, and again, like I said, never trailing in the fourth quarter. We never had a situation where we said LSU was in trouble going into the fourth quarter. You also beat a Clemson team that was riding a 29-game win streak. Kudos to you. But did you forget about that defense? Because that defense was also historic, and they don't get enough credit because the offense was so elite and it was so spectacular in 2019. But let's just talk about the notable standouts. You got Grant Dale Pitt, Derek Stingley Jr., Patrick Queen, and Jacob Phillips, who led the SEC in tackles that year. You have a defense that finished the year ranked 32nd nationally in scoring defense. I know that it is the defense is overshadowed by the offense because of the greatness of the offense, but let's not act like you did not have a top-tier defense to coincide with your offensive firepower. So my question is this, Joe Burrow, you think you got that? You think you got that in 2026? Because, yeah, you might score 48, but you're giving up 52. You might score 48, but you're giving up 52. So, honestly, if you asking me, I feel like Joe Burrow's diminishing his collegiate greatness and the collegiate greatness that was at 2019 LSU Tigers to prop up a 2026 Bengals team, even see them play a regular season snap at this point. Can you call these quotes anything more than attention-seeking when he says things like, you go back and watch what I said before the 2019 season at LSU, Burrow said Wednesday. I feel similarly about this team. I'm so excited to get started and get moving. I wish we ramped up this right into training camp so we can continue to improve. I feel like there's much greatness we'll be able to achieve this year, and I'm just excited to get going. Now, everybody know, like, if you believe like I believe, it's never been a lack of talent with the Cincinnati Bengals. It's been a lack of health with the Cincinnati Bengals. Primarily Joe Burrow's health with the Cincinnati Bengals at quarterback, because you've been in the league for 6 years. You've missed significant time in 3 of the 6 seasons that you had. Yeah, one led to a Super Bowl, but right now that seemed like an outlier. Am I lying? Am I lying? You are just an enhancement to what people already do in that organization and already do on that football field. Jamar Chase was him when he was at LSU. Jamar Chase has been him since he was with the Cincinnati Bengals. He's been him even when you were on the sideline with the Cincinnati Bengals. Did you forget he's the reason that Joe Flacco has a job right now? You let me know if I'm lying. So, put things in perspective. Maybe humble yourself up, reel it in a little bit. Just a smidget. That's all I'm saying. Another reason you might feel like it's giving you 2019 vibes. I bet you were skipping class in 2019, weren't you? The same way your head coach, Zach Taylor, let y'all skip the rest of minicamp and said y'all have learned everything he wanted you to learn to this point. So he felt it was best for you to not already have the 6 weeks off leading into training camp. You needed 6 weeks and 3 days. So I guess in other AFC North newswire, an interview with Ben Roethlisberger, James Harrison, and Joe Hayden. It's called the Debo and Joe Show through the nightcap. Go long story short, the take that has gone viral, the take that has been circulating around the NFL, especially in the AFC North, especially amongst Baltimore Ravens community, is that Big Ben said that the Ravens Super Bowl window was closing. And he said he gave an analysis. Now I'm actually going to let you hear him say he gave an analysis, and then I'm going to play his analysis of why he believes what he believes, and y'all let me know what y'all think. It's the With It Wire. Why wouldn't you subscribe?
And the reason I'm giving this whole breakdown is because I feel like if I would have just said Pittsburgh, people would be like, "Oh, that's just your part."
No, that's just Homer. It's Homer.
Yeah. So I'm breaking it down, and so that's why I would say Pittsburgh. Even breaking it all down, I would say Pittsburgh.
Shoot your shot.
Okay, now based off what he just said, doesn't that lead you to believe he had an astute breakdown analysis of why he felt like the Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl window was closing and the Pittsburgh Steelers would be the front runners for not only the AFC North, but a Super Bowl contender in 2026? That's what it would lead you to believe. But I want y'all to listen to this breakdown and let me know what y'all think.
Collected. Debo.
Hey,
Mean
Ben,
bully.
currently right now, AFC North. Who
Yeah.
do you see being the first team to get a Super Bowl?
What a question.
It depends on who's playing quarterback for the Steelers, but I would still lean towards. I honestly, I think like I probably would have said Baltimore because,
Mm-hmm.
I think that they've got what they have going on there with Lamar and that. But here's what I'm going to say: I think that their window's closed. Like
Why?
I don't think I don't. I just I don't. I should say it's closing.
Why? Why is it closing?
Okay.
Closing.
Obviously Cleveland isn't even in the like. We're gonna have to ask that.
But why is Baltimore Ravens window
No.
closing?
And Cincinnati, obviously, I like what Joe does. Their offense is really good, but they're just like they don't care about their defense and they don't care about anything there. So,
They don't.
And the reason I'm giving this whole breakdown is because I feel like if I would have just said Pittsburgh, people would be like, "Oh, that's just your part."
No, that's just Homer. Just Homer.
Yeah. So I'm breaking it down, and so that's why I would say Pittsburgh. Even breaking it all down, I would say Pittsburgh.
Stop it now, sir. There was no analysis. There was no breakdown. You just gave an opinion. Why was our window closing? Why was the Cincinnati window closing? Why is yours open? Because this was even before you even had a quarterback, sir. This was a couple months ago. You had no Aaron Rodgers under the helm. You did not know who was going to be your leader going into the 2026 season. But yet, you had so much to say about the organizations of others in the AFC North. Make it make sense. We hinge a lot of validation on the opinions of NFL players that have played the game. But I'm sorry. I believe my 7-year-old daughter could describe her track meet and the trials and tribulations that she had in the 400 run race today better than you could describe the breakdown of why the Steelers are not only the AFC front runner to be the North champions, but also Super Bowl contenders in 2026. That's just how we understand and we see it pouring through Big Ben's pores, the hate and disapproval of the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm not going to lie, the feeling's mutual. I don't want you to think it ain't. The feeling is absolutely mutual. But with that, I got to ask the question. Because if we say that football is the ultimate team sport, and we also understand that Big Ben is a 2-time Super Bowl champion and a Hall of Fame quarterback. But what is his place in the Hall of Fame as a quarterback? What is he the best at? What is he known for as a quarterback? I guess you can say winning games. What is he elite at? I don't think he was an elite thrower of the football. I don't think he was. He's definitely not an elite runner of the football. I wouldn't necessarily stigmatize him as a mobile quarterback, but he's definitely not a stick figure. So if we take away those 2 Super Bowl that we say are team accomplishments and team accolades, what is Big Ben in the Hall of Fame? Because when I look at his resume, I see a 6-time Pro Bowler, 2004 Offensive Rookie of the Year. He holds the record for the most career perfect passer rating games at 4. But then if you were to compare him to Lamar Jackson, now we also know Lamar Jackson has 2 MVPs, which Big Ben doesn't, but also Big Ben carries the 2 Super Bowls, and Super Bowls way more than MVPs. We're not even about to act like they don't. However, can I interest you in a 3-time first-team All-Pro quarterback that's a 4-time Pro Bowler? And he also holds the all-time record for both rushing yards by a quarterback and most single-season rushing yards by a quarterback with 1,206. He's also tied with Big Ben Roethlisberger for the most career perfect passer rating games at 4. And we already know that Lamar Jackson's story isn't told yet. So when Lamar Jackson goes to the Hall of Fame, because regardless if Lamar Jackson, let's just say Lamar Jackson never wins a a Super Bowl, which I 100% disagree with. But let's just say he never wins one, right? He's still a Hall of Fame quarterback. The same Hall of Fame that Big Ben goes in as a 2-time Super Bowl champion. However, here's where things get a little tricky. We know that Lamar Jackson is regarded as arguably the best dual threat quarterback of all time, arguably the best running quarterback of all time. That's what he goes into. That's what his stigma is. Whether he wins a Super Bowl or not, 20 years from now, that's what they're going to say about Lamar Jackson. But let's just say he does win a Super Bowl. And I have to believe a Super Bowl is probably going to come with the Super Bowl MVP. Then the narrative on who Lamar Jackson is in the hierarchy of Super Bowl quarterbacks also changes, because then he's a 2-time league MVP, a Super Bowl champion, and a potentially Super Bowl MVP. I think you start to have a conversation with Lamar Jackson, and there's no Big Ben in sight. I think the conversation then begins to be Lamar Jackson is a top 10, 12, at worst, no less than 15 quarterback all time in the NFL. But it's the Witted Wire. Why wouldn't you subscribe? But again, I'm going to keep saying this. I'm going to keep reminding you, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. This is the Witted Wire. But let's talk about NFL QB battles going in and around the NFL. Make sure you hit that like, comment, and of course, like I said, hype up a video. The first one I want to talk about is one Minnesota Vikings. We got Kyler Murray versus JJ McCarthy. I'm not going to lie. In the media, neither one of them were handling this well. At one point in time, Kyler Murray was handling this well because he was talking mentorship. He was talking about being the ultimate teammate and making winning the focus. But then there was a JJ McCarthy interview where he says, oh, we're just two kids, you know what I'm saying, in the same classroom. We don't talk to each other. We sit on opposite sides of the room. There's no engagement. There's no connectivity. There's no collaboration. There's no desire to see the other succeed. We know what this is. So then you had JJ McCarthy looking crazy. But then later, as mini camps begin to unfold and reps begin to happen, you have Kyler Murray coming out and saying, well, you know, it's a tough position for me because I'm splitting reps with someone. And, you know, as someone who comes over in a trade, you expect to get X amount of reps. You expect to be placed in this position and having to fight for things. Both of them sound like entitled quarterbacks to me. And if you asking me to be completely transparent, neither one of them have done too much in the NFL. Neither one of them have overly impressed me in the NFL. Kyle Murray, yeah, you've had spurts, but the inconsistency got you to Minnesota in the first place, right? JJ McCarthy, you know that the Minnesota Vikings is looking at you crazy right now because you see what happened with Sam Darnold. So you know it ain't too many people in that organization that got more pressure than you. Justin Jefferson looking at you crazy. Addison looking at you crazy. They looking at Kyler Murray like the new car on the lot. Is them white walls? 100 spokes? Is that a 405? What type of transmission is that? 2-inch crawl hood? These are just the things I know. I don't know who's going to actually win this QB battle, to be quite frank. I would assume going into this, JJ McCarthy would have the inside track. But again, Kyler Murray has shown flashes in this league. He is a very dynamic NFL QB when he is focused. If you had to ask me and make me make a decision right now, even though JJ McCarthy been there, I think Kyle Murray's probably going to flash during training camp and in the preseason, and there's probably going to be a trade of JJ McCarthy. But it's the Witted Wire. Why wouldn't you subscribe? The next QB battle that's going on is in hot Atlanta, and this involves Tua Tagovailoa and Michael Penix Jr. With a brand new coaching staff in Atlanta, Penix draft status from previous regimes no longer guarantees him a starting job. But he also going up against Tua Tagovailoa, who, let's just be transparent, that's damaged goods. He literally only one concussion away, I feel like, from having to be forced into retirement, as if past concussions and head injuries haven't been scary enough on a national platform, nonetheless. But he was signed this offseason and is currently healthy, sparking a highly fluid competition for the QB1 spot. Now, I think for me, it got to be Penix. Penix got to be the starter. I think he brings a little bit of a star power, a little bit of a more of a swagger to Atlanta, and that's something that they need. And culturally, I feel like Penix is probably going to be the more accepted quarterback. Whether that rings true or not, I think Tua is a very good backup. I think he's smart. I think he's been in some adverse conditions where he could talk about his experiences and be more of a mentor and a guidance for Penix. Definitely someone who could push Penix to be better. But Penix is going to have to get injured. I have a horrible start to the year. The Falcons are going to have to come out the gate slow for me to believe that Tua is going to be the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons in 2026. Because I'm going to be honest with you. Do I eventually think someone would have picked up Tua? Yes. But if you told me he was a free agent right now, I wouldn't be shocked. Would you? Would you want someone on your insurance with that many car accidents? Respectfully, they'd be dropping you. Your insurance would be giving you a phone call. Hey, at the end of this 6 months, we're not going to retain you as a client. You're costing us too much goddamn money. But it's the Witted Wire. So now we back to the AFC North. So, this is actually the only quarterback battle that I'm actually paying very close attention to. And it's just a lot of sub stories within the Cleveland Browns as an organization. So obviously you got Deshaun Watson versus Shedeur Sanders. Let's be honest, Deshaun hasn't played in 2 years? You know what I'm saying? Like, we haven't seen him on a football field since when? 2022, 2023 season? Like, it's hard to convince me that someone who hasn't played in that long would beat someone who I know is working as hard as Shedeur is to be a starting NFL QB. But Cleveland opted out to extend their quarterback competition, or they opted to extend their quarterback competition in the training camp with promising development of Sanders, putting pressure on veteran Deshaun Watson. Watson has struggled with injuries, suspensions, and off-the-field issues, to say the least, making this one of the more unpredictable battles in the league. Obviously, I would think that Deshaun Watson is still going to look the part, especially on air. He's going to look like he has looked the past 2 years. Long as he's able to move and throw the ball, that's perfectly fine. But what is he going to do when they put them shoulder pads on? Is he going to look the same as he doing 7-on-7? Is he going to look the same as he doing 1-on-1s? Shedeur Sanders has respectfully been there and done that most recently, and with the coach who didn't even believe in him. The coach, we know that Stefanski hated Shedeur. We know he didn't want to play Shedeur because he saw Shedeur Sanders starting as a threat to his job and his career. Ultimately, his downfall was just basically what happens at Cleveland, losing football games. It had nothing to do with Shedeur. It had everything to do with his ability to coach. But I know that the money is invested into Deshaun Watson. And I understand that Shedeur is still more of a project. However, if you're asking me unbiasedly, I gotta put Shedeur out there. What I was able to see, in his rookie year, I would want to see more of in year 2. I really got to figure out what Shedeur can do with the head coach that believes in him. I want to see what Shedeur can do with an offensive scheme that is constructed to actually enhance the skill set that Shedeur brings. I want to see what Shedeur can do when the team is fully invested in him and his ability to lead the team in the AFC North. So that's my opinion on the Cleveland Browns. But y'all let me know what y'all think about the top 3 QB battles in the NFL, man. It's the Witted Wire. Why wouldn't you subscribe? All right, but let's go ahead and transition over and talk some NBA basketball. And you can't talk NBA basketball and possible free agents without talking LeBron James. At the age of 42, I'm not going to say that he defeated Father Time because Father Time is still undefeated, but LeBron is definitely up on Father Time right now. We're talking about somebody who's at the age of 42 is seeking, think about that. He is seeking, desiring, aspiring to have a 3-year deal with the LA Lakers, which to their credit, and I can't be mad at them, they hesitant to do it, and I would be too. As great as LeBron James has played at the age of 42, a contract is not based off what you've done for me. It's based off what you will do for me. And at 45, do I think a 45-year-old LeBron James is going to be worth a max deal at that point? Especially if you're trying to win an NBA championship. One thing that has been highlighted with the New York Knicks is the fact that Jalen Brunson took less money to acquire more talent around him. You got to ask the question, LeBron, why are you seeking a max deal at the age of 42? What are you playing for? Because to me, LeBron seeking a max deal, and I'm a LeBron James fan, that's nothing more than ego. His ego says he deserves a max deal. However, if he was able to capture this elusive 5th championship, you having a completely different conversation. You're having a LeBron James in what, year 23, having captured his 5th NBA championship at the age of 43, and you got to believe he's going to be a productive player. I'm not saying he's worth the max, though, and I'm really questioning on LeBron on why he even is seeking the max. If it ain't, to me, it has to be his ego. There's nothing else that makes sense. Yes, we can say basketball-wise, he can present a great presentation and say, this is why I deserve a max deal. But I'm also going to say, if I'm an NBA organization recruiting LeBron James, what is your goal? To make more money or win more championships? What is your goal? To big your bank account or big your legacy? Because at the end of the day, NBA fans are never going to know how much money you have. The common fan is never going to know how much money you have. However, they will know how many NBA championships you had. Because they damn sure counting your losses. Why don't you give them an opportunity to count another win? But it's the Witted Wire. Why wouldn't you subscribe? All right, we're going to get ready to go ahead and wrap up the show. But I got one more topic I want to touch on. And this is more so from my officiating experience and my parental experience. So most of y'all do not know I have a 7-year-old daughter who is quite the athlete. We're talking someone who at the age of 7 is playing on a 5th grade basketball team. She just got done running the Nebraska State Championships. This is someone who is going to be playing flag football this upcoming season for the first time. And I was thinking about the uprising of flag football in recent months, in the last couple of years. And you think about where we are with women's basketball. And I pose this question. Is women's basketball in trouble due to flag football? Because the talent has to come from somewhere. Obviously, with the WNBA, with the success of the WNBA. It has increased the spotlight, increased revenue, increased more opportunities for women in basketball. But there is an uprising with women in flag football, especially at the high school and collegiate level, where high schools are beginning to incorporate women's flag football, when colleges are not only beginning to incorporate flag football because they've always had it to some degree just on an intramural basis, but now they're actually putting funding behind it. Now you can get college scholarships to be a flag football player in women's sports. So it's not that basketball is the only other sport that's going to be impacted by the uprising of flag football. I also think track, you're going to see a lot more sprinters, a lot more athletes that might be fringe regional, national type sprinters, fringe state, regional type sprinters actually take their crack at playing flag football. Because it is so new, and let's be honest, American football is still king in the United States of America. As popular as basketball is, as popular as it is with the girls and the women, the opportunity to play flag football has a lot of female athletes salivating. And we're not even talking about on a professional level. We're just talking about at the high school and collegiate level. But again, I got my 7-year-old daughter's about to play flag football right now. Now, of course, we're not leaving the basketball scene. We're going to do both. But there are going to be parents that are not going to be able to afford both. There are going to be families who are football-centric families who may take that fringe basketball player that may be a 6-man off the bench. Maybe she's not a starter, but her older brothers and her family plays or is ingrained in the football, so they're going to take her out of basketball and put her in the football. This is just something that I think could happen. I do think it is going to impact basketball to a degree, not a major degree, because again, I think you're going to see a lot of athletes play both. I think there's going to be a lot of athletes that are going to be able to play basketball and football, definitely in high school. But again, as these AAU programs and tournaments and leagues start to spring up in cities and states and communities and regions, and it begins to become so popular, if you told me 10 years from now there was a professional women's flag football team, I wouldn't be surprised. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. It's been a dope show. You know what I'm saying? We're going to keep this thing going. Again, we trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the start of the NFL season now. We're a little pressed for time, so I need your help. Share out the video. Send this to somebody who ain't seen the With It Wire, but you know, just based off the information you've seen today, they need to be locked in just like you are. It's the With It Wire. Why wouldn't you subscribe? Appreciate you.